Henry's Magic Box. The winter holidays are a very special time on Sodor. There are twinkling lights and snowy nights, and there are lots of surprises of all sorts and sizes. One morning, Henry was alone at Tidmouth's sheds. All the other engines were busy. Henry didn't want to be alone. He wanted to be busy like the other engines. Then Sir Topham had arrived. Henry was happy to see him.
Good morning, sir.
Henry, I have a very special for you.
Henry gasped. This was more than he could ever have dreamed of.
Yes, sir. Ready to be really useful, sir.
Henry, you must pick up a very special box from Brendam Docks. Next, you must take the box to Farmer McCall's field. Then, you must go and tell all the other engines to come to Farmer McCall's field at tea time. It's important, Henry, that you take great care of the box. I want to be proud of you.
Henry wished him. He was excited to have such an important job.
Of course, sir. I will take the best care of the box.
Then Sir Topham had left. Henry pumped his pistons and puffed proudly to Brendam Docks. Henry chuffed into Brendam Docks.
This box is special, Henry. You have to take special care of it.
I know, Cranky. That's why Sir Topham Hatt chose me for the job.
And Henry chuffed cheerfully away to Farmer McCall's. Henry huffed in with his very special.
Please be careful with the box.
Henry was worried for his box. It stood all alone. But he had to go and tell the other engines to come to the field at tea time.
I must hurry.
Henry huffed along. He saw Gordon ahead at the junction. But Henry didn't puff on to tell Gordon to be at the field at tea time. Henry was worried about his box alone in the field.
First, I must go and check that my special box is safe.
So, Henry hurried back to the field. Henry heaved to a stop. Then he gasped. Now there were 5 Christmas trees in the field, but no box.
Fizzling fireboxes! Sir Topham Hatt won't be proud of me now. He will be cross. I must find the box.
Henry steamed swiftly away. Then Henry met Toby and James at a junction. Henry was too busy looking for the box to notice them.
Hello, Henry.
You look wobbly with worry.
But Henry wasn't listening. He didn't tell Toby and James to be at the field at tea time. There was no box to see. Henry had to find it. Henry huffed hurriedly back to the field. Then his pistons almost popped.
Bust my buffers! Now there are even more Christmas trees, but my very special box is still gone. I must find it.
Henry juddered and jittered to the junction.
Hello, Henry. Emily told us Sir Topham Hatt has given you a very special.
Henry gulped and gasped. He didn't tell Thomas and Percy to be at the field at tea time. There was no box for them to see.
I must hurry.
And Henry raced away. Henry looked everywhere for his box. In fields and fenlands, sidings and stations. He couldn't find the box anywhere. Henry steamed sadly back to the field. Then he gasped.
The empty field is now a forest of Christmas trees, and my special box still isn't here.
Henry, I asked you to do a special job. You haven't done it. It's almost tea time, and the other engines aren't here.
Henry wished weakly. His firebox flickered.
I'm sorry, sir. I've let you down. I haven't looked after the very special box. It has disappeared. I haven't told any of the engines to be here, and you won't be proud of me.
Sir Topham Hatt sighed.
Henry, you are an old and kind engine, but you worry too much. Where do you think the forest came from?
Henry wheezed steam and bubbled his boiler. He really wanted to find the answer. He didn't want Sir Topham Hatt to think he was silly. Then the answer flew into his funnel.
The trees were in the box, sir. That's why the box isn't here, and the Christmas trees are.
That's right, Henry. You looked after the box very well. Now, go and do the rest of your job.
Henry smiled from buffer to buffer.
Yes, sir. We'll all be here at tea time.
And Henry pumped his pistons and chuffed cheerfully away. First, Henry found Gordon and Emily.
Sir Topham Hatt wants you to go straight to Farmer McCall's field. Hurry, please. No time to waste.
Next, Henry steamed to Tidmouth Sheds. Thomas, Percy, and Edward were there.
Sir Topham Hatt wants you to go straight to Farmer McCall's field. Hurry, please. No time to rest.
Henry puffed into Knapford Station. His cheeks were as red as James's paintwork. James was talking to the station master.
Sir Topham Hatt wants you to go straight to Farmer McCall's field. Hurry, please, James. No time to talk.
At last, Henry found Toby at the water tower.
Sir Topham Hatt wants you to go straight to Farmer McCall's field. Hurry, please, Toby. No time to take on water.
And Henry wheezed away. He felt a very happy engine. Henry arrived back at Farmer McCall's field, just in time for tea time. All the other engines were there, but Sir Topham Hatt wasn't. Henry felt silly. Again.
I'm sorry, everyone. I thought Sir Topham Hatt was going to be here. Perhaps I was wrong.
Suddenly, the Christmas trees were a forest of twinkling lights. Red, blue, green, yellow, sparkling in the darkness. The engines gasped in surprise.
Fizzling fireboxes.
This is wonderful.
Then, there was the greatest surprise of all. Sir Topham Hatt stepped through the trees. He looked just like Santa Claus.
Ho, ho, ho! Happy winter holidays to all my really useful engines!
Henry's eyes popped as wide as his wheels. This had been the best winter holiday special of all. Pingy, Pongy, Pickup. It was an exciting day on the island of Sodor. It was the opening game for the Sodor United soccer team. All the engines huffed and puffed to be ready on time. Sir Topham Hatt arrived at Tidmouth Sheds.
Today is a very busy day. One engine must take the Sodor United team to the soccer field. One engine must take the fans. One must deliver the apples for the halftime break. And the other must collect the dirty washing from Maithwaite Station and take it to the laundry lady.
The engines wheezed happily.
Now I must hurry. Thomas, you will decide which engine does which job.
Emily was very excited.
Soccer is my favorite game. I always puff past the soccer field when the Sodor United team is playing. Did you know that the goalkeeper has a lucky pair of gloves?
Emily was so busy boasting, she didn't hear her friends.
I'll take the team to the soccer field.
I'll take the fans.
And I'll take the apples for halftime break.
Wait a minute! What am I going to do?
You can take the dirty washing, Emily.
Stinky washing? I know all about the Sodor United team. I wanted the most important job. Delivering the washing isn't the most important job.
Emily huffed huffily to a junction. She was cross.
I don't want to puff to Maithwaite to collect the stinky washing.
Then Emily saw Percy chuff across the bridge. He was on his way to Farmer McColl's farm to collect the apples.
Percy has a very important job. I'm sure I can help him.
So Emily didn't chuff to Maithwaite. She took the track to Farmer McColl's farm instead. Emily huffed her hardest to Farmer McColl's. Percy was being coupled up to the car of apples.
Hello, Percy. I'll help you. I'll be your back engine.
No, thank you, Emily. I'm fine.
But Emily wanted to help. So Emily buffered up to the other end of the freight car. She began to pull.
Fizzling fireboxes.
But Percy was pulling the car from the other side. Then there was trouble. Emily pulled so hard that the coupling broke. The apple car tumbled off the tracks. Apples bounced and rolled everywhere. Percy was cross.
I don't need your help, Emily. This is my job. Your job is to collect the washing.
Emily didn't want to collect the washing, so she steamed slowly away.
I want to help my team win the day. Picking up dirty washing won't help them play.
Emily clickety-clacked to a junction. Then Emily saw James. James had collected the Sodor United fans.
James has a very important job. I'm sure I can help him with that.
So Emily pumped her pistons. She had to puff to the junction before James.
James, stop! I can help you with your important job. I'll be your back engine. Then the fans will arrive more quickly.
But James was going too fast to stop.
Out of my way, Emily!
But Emily didn't chuff out of the way. James had to screech into a siding. His wheels whirred, and he bumped into the buffers. Luckily, no one was hurt, but James was cross.
Thank you, Emily. I don't need your help. This is my job. Your job is to collect the dirty washing.
This made Emily cross. She really didn't want to puff to Maithwaite to collect the washing. James steamed snootily away with the passenger cars of fans.
I want the most important job. I want to help my team win the day. Picking up dirty washing won't help them play.
Then, Thomas puffed past with Annie and Clarabelle. Thomas was going to collect the Sodor United soccer team.
Thomas has a very important job. I'm sure I can help him with that.
Emily pumped her pistons and wheeshed after Thomas. Emily chuffed into the town square. She screeched to a stop. The Sodor United soccer team was waiting, and Sir Topham Hatt was cross.
Emily, where are the team's clean soccer shirts and shorts?
Emily was puzzled. Then she gasped.
Fizzling fireboxes. The stinky washing was the team's soccer shirts and shorts.
Emily felt terrible.
I didn't take the washing to the laundry lady. Now the team have nothing to wear for the opening game. The game can't take place, and it's all my fault.
Emily felt very silly.
I thought that all the other jobs were more important than mine. Now I see that all jobs are important. I'm very sorry, sir. I'm very sorry, team.
Emily wished weakly.
Please, sir, I'll puff my hardest and make sure the team have clean soccer shirts and shorts in time for the opening game.
Emily collected the soccer shirts and shorts from Maithwaite Station. Then she huffed and puffed to Marin Station. The laundry lady quickly washed the clothes.
These shirts and shorts are soaking wet. They won't be dry in time for the opening game.
Emily was very worried. Then an idea flew into Emily's funnel.
Please tie the wet washing to my funnel. The washing can dry in the wind as I race to the town square.
Emily chuffed and puffed proudly along the tracks. The wet soccer shirts and shorts flapped and fluttered in the wind.
Now, the team will have clean washing for the game. My team will be clean and ready to play. Go Sodor United, the best team today! Hooray!
Everyone waved to Emily, and Emily tooted back. Emily huffed happily into the town square. She was just in time for the soccer game.
Here are your clean, dry soccer shirts and shorts.
The Sodor United soccer team cheered and clapped. Emily felt very important.
Good luck for the game. 2, 4, 6, 8. We're the team who won't be late. Sodor United!
Everyone laughed and laughed. And Emily blew her whistle loudest of all. Toby and the Whistling Woods. There had been a storm on the island of Sodor. The skies were still gray, and the clouds were still heavy, as the engines huffed and puffed. Toby was puffing proudly to Knapford Station. Sir Topham Hatt had a very special for him.
Toby, the Duke and Duchess of Boxford are arriving at tea time. They need coal to warm their house. You must deliver it right away.
Toby was very excited to be given such an important job. He had never delivered to the Duke and Duchess of Boxford's house before.
Right away, sir.
You must go through the Whistling Woods. The other track to the house is blocked. A tree fell across it in the storm.
Toby was worried. He had never taken the track through the Whistling Woods. He had always puffed along the other track.
I don't like the Whistling Woods. I think it's dark in there and full of strange noises.
But today, Toby would have to puff through the Whistling Woods. Toby chuffed up to Whistling Woods Junction. James and Thomas were there. They were shunting freight cars.
Hello, Toby.
But Toby didn't say hello to his friend Thomas. He was too busy looking at the Whistling Woods.
You look worried, Toby.
Toby was worried, but he wanted to be brave.
Hello, Thomas. I have to take this coal to the Duke and Duchess's house. I have to chuff through the Whistling Woods.
Then Toby's signal turned green. But he didn't chuff away. Thomas and James were puzzled.
Are you scared of the Whistling Woods, Toby?
Toby didn't want James to think he was a scaredy engine.
No, I'm not.
Thomas wanted to help his friend.
I can chuff through the woods with you, Toby.
Toby wanted Thomas's help, but he was an old engine.
Old engines can't be scaredy engines. I can't ask young engines for help.
So, Toby pumped his pistons.
No, thank you, Thomas. I don't need your help.
And Toby chuffed off into the whistling woods, all by himself. Toby's boiler jittered and juddered. The woods were very dark, and the trees looked very big. Toby wanted to be a brave engine, and not a scaredy engine.
I'm not scared of the whistling wood. I'll puff straight on, like Thomas would.
Suddenly, Toby heard a strange sound. It made his wheels wobble.
What was that?
Then, Toby heard the noise again.
Bust my buffers! These woods are too scary for me.
Toby huffed hard backwards out of the whistling woods, straight into the two freight cars James and Thomas had shunted. Thomas and James were surprised, and so was Toby.
Fizzling fireboxes! I'm sorry.
What happened, Toby? Were you scared?
I can puff through the woods with you, Toby.
Toby did want James's help, but he still thought old engines couldn't ask young ones for help.
No, thank you, James. I don't need your help.
So, Toby puffed back into the whistling woods, all by himself. Toby chuffed further and further.
I'm not scared of the whistling wood. I'll puff straight on, like Thomas would.
Then, he heard another strange noise.
Pumping pistons! What's that? These woods are far too scary.
So, Toby huffed his hardest out of the whistling woods, straight into the four freight cars James and Thomas had shunted. Toby was upset.
Trembling trucks! I'm sorry.
Once again, Thomas wanted to help his friend Toby.
Toby, let us help you puff through the woods.
We can puff through with you.
Toby really wanted James and Thomas's help, but he still thought old engines couldn't ask young ones for help.
No, thank you.
So, Toby puffed back into the whistling woods all by himself. He clickety-clacked along the track.
I'm not scared of the whistling wood. I'll puff straight on, like Thomas would.
Then, Toby heard the strangest noise of all.
Trembling trams! What's that noise?
Toby's boiler bubbled and his wheels wobbled. He pumped his pistons and raced back out of the woods, straight into the 6 freight cars Thomas and James had shunted. Toby felt terrible.
Oh, no! This is a disaster! I've spoilt your freight cars! The Duke and Duchess won't get their coal on time! And I'm an old and scaredy engine.
Toby looked at his friends. They weren't calling him a scaredy engine. Toby could see they were worried for him.
I'm sorry. I thought an old engine couldn't ask for help. But now I see that you're never too old to ask for help. Please, will you puff through the whistling woods with me?
Thomas and James were happy to help.
Of course, Toby. Follow us.
Soon, Toby's freight car was full of coal. Then, Toby followed James and Thomas into the whistling woods. Slowly, Toby, Thomas, and James chuffed and puffed along the track.
there's my friend, the snowy owl.
The snowy owl flew above their heads. It was sweet and fluffy.
Oh, my!
Toby couldn't believe he had been scared of the friendly owl. Then, Toby heard another noise.
What's that?
It's the woodland waterfall. Look!
The waterfall was wonderful. It tinkled and sparkled. It clattered and splattered on the stones.
Buffers and bumpers. That's beautiful.
Then, the engines heard a noise that was very, very strange.
What's that?
It's the wind whistling through the woods.
It's the whistling woods.
Toby smiled. He wasn't a scaredy engine anymore. He was very happy he had asked his friends for help.
I may be old, but now I'm happy.
And Toby smiled all the way to the Duke and Duchess's house. Diesel's special delivery. It was market day on the island of Sodor. The engines were very busy, chuffing and puffing, taking freight cars of fruit and vegetables to market. Diesel wasn't going to market. He had to take slates to the school. The school roof was broken, and it was going to rain. The roof needed the slates to be fixed. Diesel clanked through Maithwaite Station. James was there. Children were clapping and cheering. James was very proud.
I have been clapped and cheered all morning. I have a very special.
Diesel was puzzled. What's so special about your special? Then, Diesel saw that James was taking pretty round pink piglets to Farmer Trotter's farm. I never have pretty pink piglets to deliver. I am never clapped and cheered.
That's because you are a diesel. Special coming through!
And James whooshed proudly out of the station. Diesel clattered off. He wanted to follow James. He wanted to be clapped and cheered. Then, along the track, Diesel saw Thomas. Thomas was puffing to market. He had a freight car of round, shiny apples. Where are you going with those apples, Thomas?
I'm taking them to market. I must hurry. I have a very busy day.
Then, Diesel had an idea. Those apples are just as pretty as James's piglets. If I take them, I will be clapped and cheered just like James. So, Diesel oiled next to Thomas. I'm not busy today. I can take your apples to market. Thomas was surprised.
Thank you, Diesel.
So, Diesel left his slate in a siding. He was coupled up to Thomas's freight car of round, shiny apples and hurried to be cheered and clapped just like James. Diesel found James at Marin Station. Children were on the platform. They were clapping and cheering James and his piglets.
Yay! Brilliant! You're the best!
Nobody cheered and clapped Diesel and his round, shiny apples. Diesel was upset. I thought my apples were just as pretty as James's piglets. I will find something else that is sure to be cheered and clapped. Diesel clanked and clattered away. Then Diesel saw Rosie. Rosie was pulling a flatbed of pretty bright flowers.
Where are you going with those flowers, Rosie?
I'm taking them to market. I must hurry. I'm very busy.
Then Diesel had another idea.
Those flowers are as pretty as James's piglets. If I pull those flowers, I will be clapped and cheered, just like James. I'm not busy today, Rosie. I will take your flowers to market for you.
Rosie was surprised.
Thank you, Diesel.
Diesel was coupled up to Rosie's pretty bright flowers. Diesel felt very happy. Soon, Diesel saw James at a crossing. Children were cheering and clapping. Diesel oiled to a stop with his apples and flowers. No one cheered and clapped. Diesel was upset.
I thought my apples and flowers were just as pretty as James's pretty pink piglets. But no one is cheering or clapping.
James puffed proudly away. Diesel clung crossly to market. Diesel clattered back from market. He passed Farmer Trotter's farm. There was James's wagon of pretty pink piglets. Then Diesel had a very special idea.
If I take James's piglets to the school children, they are sure to clap and cheer.
So Diesel buffered up to the piglet's wagon. And he hooted happily away, as fast as his wheels could rattle. Diesel arrived at the school. He saw children standing outside.
Rattling rods. They are sure to clap and cheer me now.
But the children didn't clap and they didn't cheer. The children were wet and they were worried.
Trembling tracks. The children don't want to see pretty pink piglets. They want a new roof for their school.
Then there was trouble. Sir Topham had arrived on Thomas. He was cross.
Diesel, what are you doing with James's piglets? And where is the slate for the school roof?
Diesel felt terrible.
I'm sorry, sir. I have been very silly. I brought the piglets to show the children because I wanted to be clapped and cheered. But now I see that the children don't want pretty pink piglets. They want a new roof for their school.
That's right, Diesel. You must put this right. Now.
Diesel clattered away. He wanted the children to be happy. Diesel rattled and raced. He had forgotten all about being clapped and cheered. He only wanted to be really useful.
I must get back to the school with the slate before it rains again.
Diesel arrived at Farmer Trotter's farm.
I'm sorry, Farmer Trotter. I took your piglets to show to the children. I wanted to be cheered and clapped like James. But now, I know I should have taken the slate to the school. That was much more important.
Farmer Trotter was happy to have his piglets back, and Diesel was happy to hurry to pick up the slate. Soon, Diesel was racing back to the school, as fast as his wheels could whir. Diesel wheezed into the school. The children were still waiting.
Don't worry, children. Here are the slates for your roof.
The children clapped and cheered.
Yeah! Hooray for Diesel! Now he won't be wet! Hip, hip, hooray for Diesel! Hooray for Diesel! Hooray for Diesel! Now he won't be wet!
Diesel heard the children cheer. He saw them clap.
I have never been happier.
Victor says yes. On the island of Sodor, the engines like to puff and huff their hardest. Sometimes they huff too hard. Their pistons pop. Their traction rods rattle. And then they must go to the steamworks to be fixed. Victor liked fixing engines, and he liked being busy. And today was a very busy day at the steamworks. Cars and engines were everywhere.
Hurry up with those valves.
We don't have all day, you know.
Percy was waiting to be painted,
I'd like to be gleaming and green, please, Victor.
and Edward had to be fixed.
My broken boiler is bothering me, Victor.
Victor clickety-clacked along the tracks from one engine to another.
I know, my friends. You all need to be fixed. And you all want to be fixed right away. But I only have one set of wheels, you know.
Then Sir Topham Hatt arrived on Gordon. Gordon spluttered and stuttered as he steamed.
Victor, Gordon's valves are blocked. They must be cleaned as soon as possible. The children are going on a boat trip. Gordon must be ready to take them to the docks at tea time.
Victor was worried. There was no room for Gordon in the steamworks, and the workmen were all busy. But Victor didn't want to upset Sir Topham Hatt.
Of course, sir. I will have Gordon puffing perfectly in no time.
That made Sir Topham Hatt very happy.
Well done, Victor. I'm pleased to see that you are a really useful engine. Really useful engines do their best, and they are the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thomas chuffed cheerfully up to his friend.
Oh my, Victor. Sir Topham Hatt is very pleased with you.
Victor puffed with pride.
Thank you, Thomas, my friend. Now, what can I do for you?
I have a loose footplate.
Victor knew he had too much to do. He knew he didn't have time to fix Thomas's footplate, but he wanted to be the best. He wanted to be a really useful engine.
Come on in, my friend. I'll fix your footplate. Gordon, chuff back to let Thomas in. Come on, move over, everyone, please.
What about my blocked valves?
And my broken boiler.
And my gleaming green paint.
And our valves?
We were here first.
Sorry, boss. The slip of the hook.
Victor huffed and heaved.
All in good time, my friends. Fix Thomas's footplate, please.
Then Emily steamed in. She had to collect an important visitor from Brendam Docks.
Emily, my friend. Hello. What can I do for you?
My buffers need a perfect polish.
Victor knew he had too much to do. He knew he didn't have time to polish Emily's buffers. But he wanted to be the best. He wanted to be a really useful engine.
Come along in, Emily, my friend. I will have your buffers polished perfectly.
Emily wheezed and squeezed in front of Gordon.
What about my blocked valves?
My broken boiler.
My gleaming green paint. My footplate.
Our valves?
We were here first.
Sorry, boss. Slip of the hook.
Fizzling fireboxes. Give Emily some room. Puff back. Puff back, please.
What about my blocked valves?
Then there was trouble. Black smoke and soot shot from Gordon's valves all over Sir Topham Hatt, who had just arrived in his bright blue car. Suddenly, Sir Topham Hatt's car wasn't bright blue anymore. It was black and sooty. Victor gasped.
Fizzling fireboxes.
Oh, the indignity!
Heaving hooks! Was that meant to happen, boss?
No, it was not.
Sir Topham Hatt was cross.
What are you doing, Victor? My car is ruined, and Gordon isn't fixed and ready to take the children to the docks. I thought you were really useful.
Victor felt terrible.
I'm sorry, sir. This is a disaster, and it's all my fault. I wanted to show you that I really am the best, that I am really useful. So I tried to do everything, and I ended up doing nothing.
Can I help, boss?
No, thank you, Kevin. Now I must do something.
Victor steamed sadly to Sir Topham Hatt.
Sir, if you will let me, I can have Gordon ready in time. Your car will be bright blue again, all the engines will be fixed, and I will be really useful again.
Sir Topham Hatt could see Victor was sorry.
Very well, Victor, but you'd better hurry.
Victor smiled.
Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Please, my friends, I have been silly. Now I ask you to help me. I can fix all of you, but I cannot fix all of you at the same time. Some of you will have to wait.
The engines hooted and tooted.
We'll all help you, Victor.
Standing by, boss!
Victor smiled at his friends.
Thank you. First of all, Gordon's valves must be cleaned.
What about my buffers?
Emily, my friend, your buffers are going to be beautiful for your visitor. Tomorrow, I will have them polished perfectly, but not today.
What about my broken boiler?
Victor smiled kindly at Edward.
Your boiler will be bubbling soon. Please wait.
Then Percy puffed up.
I really want to be gleaming green.
Victor chuckled.
I know you do, Percy. And you will be the greenest green there is. But maybe not today. Wait, please, with your friend Edward.
Harry and Bert creaked crossly.
We were here first!
I know you were, my friends. I have not forgotten you. After Gordon, it will be your turn.
This made Harry and Bert very happy. Then Victor chuffed to Thomas.
And your footplate, Thomas, my friend. I was silly to say I could fix it today.
Don't worry, Victor. I can easily come back tomorrow.
Thank you, Thomas.
Kevin trundled up.
Good work, boss.
Later, Victor looked happily around the steamworks. Then Sir Topham Hatt arrived.
Sir, Gordon's valves are cleaned and his funnel is steaming.
Well done, Victor. I see you are once more a really useful engine.
That made Victor very happy.
Thank you, sir.
Boss, do you think I'm really useful?
Victor smiled.
Yes, you are, my friend. We are really useful together.
Being Percy. It was a sunny day on the island of Sodor. The engines were huffing and chuffing as they clickety-clacked along the tracks to Brendam docks. The docks were busy. Cranky was creaky with crates, and Salty was shunting, as Percy puffed in to collect the mail cars.
Excuse me, Thomas. Excuse me, James. I must collect my cars on time.
Thomas and James didn't move out of Percy's way. Percy tried again.
Excuse me. If I'm late with my mail, I won't be a really useful engine.
Just then, Gordon thundered into the docks.
Out of my way! Express coming through!
Salty moved out of Gordon's way. Percy saw this.
I wish I was as loud as Gordon. Then everyone would chuff out of my way.
Gordon collected his passengers. Then he huffed grandly away.
Out of my way! Express coming through!
This made an idea fly into Percy's funnel.
I shall be as loud as Gordon. Then the other engines are sure to take notice of me.
So Percy pumped his pistons and peeped as loudly as he could.
Out of my way! Mail coming through!
Thomas and James were surprised.
Cinders and ashes. Flatten my funnel. It's Percy.
And the two engines steamed swiftly out of Percy's way. Being loud made Percy feel very important. Percy liked feeling important.
Now I shall be like Gordon.
And Percy puffed proudly away. Percy clickety-clacked cheerfully.
I like being Gordon. It makes me feel bold. I'll do what I want to, not what I'm told.
Then Percy saw Toby on the track ahead. Toby was steaming slowly. Percy had to steam slowly too. Percy didn't want to steam slowly. So, an idea popped into his pistons.
Out of my way! Mail coming through!
Toby was so surprised, he juddered and shuddered to a stop. But he didn't puff out of Percy's way.
Hello, Percy.
Percy was disappointed. Then, Percy saw Gordon clatter past on the express line.
Out of my way! Express coming through!
Fizzling fireboxes. Gordon is fast. I shall be fast.
So at the next junction, Percy switched tracks. Now, he was on the express line. And with a whoosh and a wheesh, Percy whistled away like the wind. And like Gordon, Percy felt important.
I like being Gordon. It makes me feel bold. I'll do what I want to, not what I'm told.
Percy was going so fast on the express line, he raced straight through Maithwaite Station.
Out of my way! Mail coming through!
And left the mail sacks behind. Percy felt happy. He was fast. He was loud.
I like being Gordon. It makes me feel bold. I'll do what I want to, not what I'm told.
At Marin Station, Percy saw Alicia Botti on the platform. She was going to have dinner with Sir Topham Hatt.
Hello, Percy. I'm waiting for Gordon to take me to Knapford.
Percy felt loud. Percy felt fast. Percy felt he was just as good as Gordon. He could take very important passengers, too.
Step inside my cab, Miss Botti. I will take you there in no time.
And Percy whooshed away with Alicia Botti to Knapford Station. Percy felt proud. He was fast, he was loud, and he had a very important passenger.
I like being Gordon. It makes me feel bold. I'll do what I want to, not what I'm told.
And Percy raced and rattled right past Sir Topham Hatt. Then there was trouble. Gordon was roaring towards Percy.
Out of my way! Express coming through!
Out of my way! Mail coming through!
But Gordon didn't get out of Percy's way. Suddenly, Percy was worried.
Oh my! Oh no! Oh help! Whoa!
Whoa!
Gordon snowman swerved and swayed into a siding. He bashed the buffers and toppled off the tracks. Percy felt terrible. Now, he didn't feel bold at all. He felt very silly.
I'm sorry, Gordon. I wanted to be you. I wanted to be fast and loud and very important. But now you can't puff at all. And it's all my fault.
Gordon grumped. Percy puffed.
I will put all of this right by just being Percy.
First, Percy took Alicia Botti to Sir Topham Hatt at Knapford.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, Miss Botti. I was trying to be Gordon, but I know that I'm only Percy.
Next, he puffed into the Sodor Search and Rescue Center.
Excuse me, James. I made Gordon derail. Would you pull Rocky with me to help Gordon? I'm not strong enough alone.
James sniffed. Then, he felt sorry for Percy.
Very well. Buffer up.
And together, they heaved and hauled Rocky to help Gordon.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Rocky. I must hurry now to pick up the mail.
And Percy huffed and chuffed to pick up the mail sacks. Slowly, Percy steamed away to Knapford.
I'm really just Percy. I'm small and I'm green. I'm silly, I'm slow. I don't want to be seen.
Percy chuffed into Knapford. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting. Percy's firebox fizzed with fear.
Percy, why did you want to be Gordon? You're perfect being Percy, and that's what I want you to be.
All the engines hooted and tooted in agreement, and Percy smiled. He was happy being Percy. Thomas and the Snowman party. It was a snowy winter's day on the island of Sodor. The children were busy building the biggest snowman on Sodor. All the engines wanted to help the children. They were very excited. Thomas whooshed into the town square. Thomas's best friend Percy was there. So was James. Percy was smiling.
Hello, Percy. You look happy.
There's going to be a snowman party, Thomas. Farmer McCall's sheepdog will hunt the hat.
The brass band will play.
And Mr. Bubbles the clown is going to do magic hat tricks.
Thomas's firebox fizzed.
That will be fun.
Then Sir Topham Hatt arrived.
There is a lot to do for the snowman party. You are all to huff your hardest. Percy, you will collect cupcakes from the bakery.
Right away, sir.
James, you must collect the special guests from Brendam Docks.
Yes, sir.
And Thomas, you are to pick up an important package from Knapford Station.
Thomas pumped his pistons proudly. Then he saw that the children looked sad.
Our snowman has a carrot for a nose, coal for his eyes and mouth, and a brightly colored scarf. But he doesn't have a hat.
Thomas didn't want the children to be sad. Thomas wanted to help the children.
Don't worry. I'll find a hat for your snowman.
So Thomas didn't go to Knapford Station to pick up the important package. He chuffed cheerfully away to find a hat. Thomas clickety-clacked along the track.
I'll look and find a hat. The children will be pleased with that.
Thomas puffed past Farmer McCall's farm. Suddenly, he huffed to a halt. There was a big brown hat on a hay bale. Thomas's boiler bubbled with excitement.
This would be a very good hat for the children's snowman. That would make them happy.
So Thomas's driver put the big brown hat into Thomas's cab. And Thomas huffed happily away. Thomas clattered along the track.
I found a hat! I found a hat! The children will be pleased with that.
And Thomas wheeshed on to pick up the important package. On his way to Knapford, Thomas chuffed through Marin Station. Suddenly, he screeched to a stop. There was another big hat on the platform bench. Thomas smiled from footplate to fender.
This hat is even bigger than the big brown hat. It will make the children even happier.
So, Thomas's driver put the big hat in Thomas's cab.
I found a bigger, better hat. The children will be pleased with that.
And Thomas puffed perkily away to pick up the important package. On his way to Knapford, Thomas steamed through Maithwaite Station. Suddenly he stopped. There was a very big hat, sitting on some suitcases. It was blue and green and red and purple. It was the most colorful hat Thomas had ever seen. It was also the biggest.
This hat would make the children happiest of all.
So Thomas's driver put the big colorful hat into Thomas's cab.
I've found the biggest, brightest hat. The children will be pleased with that.
And Thomas wheeshed away to pick up the important package. Then Thomas chuffed to a junction. Toby was there. Toby was worried.
The children have finished building their snowman, but they still don't have a hat for him.
Thomas gasped.
I have a hat for the children's snowman. I'll take it to them right away.
Thomas pumped his pistons and raced to the town square.
Hello, Percy. Hello, James.
Percy and James looked sad.
Farmer McCall has lost his big brown hat. Now his sheepdog can't hunt the hat.
The brass band haven't arrived. They're looking for the conductor's big hat.
And Mr. Bubbles has lost his blue, red, green, and purple hat. Now he can't do any magic hat tricks.
Thomas felt terrible.
Cinders and ashes. I have all those hats in my cab.
Percy and James were surprised.
I wanted to help the children. I wanted to find a hat for their snowman. I wanted to make them happy.
Then Sir Topham had arrived.
Where is my important package, Thomas?
I'm sorry, sir. Your important package is still at Knapford Station. I was trying to find a hat for the children's snowman. Now you don't have your package, and I have spoiled the children's fun.
Sir Topham Hatt looked cross.
I'm sure I can put this right, sir.
Very well, Thomas.
So Thomas raced away as fast as his wheels could whir. Thomas puffed into Knapford Station. Sir Topham Hatt's important package was put into his cab, and Thomas raced quickly away. Next, Thomas wheeshed to Farmer McColl's farm. Farmer McColl and his sheepdog were looking for his big brown hat.
I have your hat, sir. The children are waiting for you at the snowman party.
So Farmer McColl and his sheepdog jumped into Annie, and Thomas steamed swiftly away. Then Thomas puffed to Marin Station. The brass band were still looking for the conductor's hat.
I have your hat, sir. All aboard for the town square and the snowman party.
So the conductor and the brass band climbed into Annie and Clarabelle. And Thomas raced off. Thomas hurried to Maithwaite Station. Mr. Bubbles had been looking for his magic hat everywhere.
I have your hat, sir.
Hooray, Thomas! Now I can come to the party and do my magic tricks.
So Mr. Bubbles bounced on board, and Thomas raced like the wind back to the town square and the children's snowman. Thomas chuffed into the town square. His axles ached, and his cheeks were rosy red.
Here I am, sir. I have Farmer McCall and his sheepdog, the brass band, Mr. Bubbles, and your important package.
Very good, Thomas.
Sir Topham Hatt opened his important package. Inside was a brand new top hat.
Excellent, Thomas. Just what I needed. And this, children, may be just what you need. A hat for your snowman.
The children cheered, and Thomas beamed from buffer to buffer. This was the grandest snowman on Sodor.